Hello, hi, it's me. What's up? We're doing the Schword this time. Alright, so things to note. This is a caster frame, which means when you use your heavy attack, you throw out a projectile that deals damage to the enemy. Yes, I said it like that on purpose. Shut up. It's my channel. I can do what I want. It is also stasis. Stasis. You can basically ignore all stats here because swords vary as far as stats are concerned solely based off the guards. And since it's a caster frame and we're specifically talking about using it to hit people, you're gonna just want Sword Master's Guard. So just go with that one and move on. So traits. Yes, immediately jump to traits. Um, if for some reason you wanted to use this thing more for ad clear, then I would recommend strategist. Just why wouldn't you want to get free class ability energy and unrelenting? Because if you don't want that class ability energy, then not dying while you're running around and cutting people to death um, would be useful. You pair that with one for all because you're going to be killing multiple ads, or surrounded if for some reason you can immediately kill them. Then with surrounded, you will immediately kill them. That's about as good as you're gonna get as far as ad clear is concerned. Although I don't think that's this sword's thing, based solely off frame. Um, a vortex would be better just because you spinny spin and then you hit everything around you versus this feeling like more of a single target utility type of deal. So, speaking of utility and single target and whatnot, if you were going to use this for DPS, then in the third column you can go attrition orbs. Attrition orbs on a sword I think is one of the more underrated, really good combinations because on a sword, you're going to be standing right on top of the thing that you are hitting because you know it's a sword, and creating that orb of power means that you will constantly have the utility of increased damage if you put the correct surge boots on. And all you're doing is just dealing damage. So dealing damage gives you more damage. That's the way I look at this trait. Uh, so good. And there's nothing else in this column that will help you deal more damage, um, unless you count relentless strikes, which is more of triple tap. So you either do attrition orbs for more upfront damage, but less total damage. Um, or you go relentless strikes for less DPS but more total damage. Just depends on the situation, depends on what all you have. Doesn't matter either way because they're both gonna improve your damage, right? And then in the fourth column, you have three options really. Um, Vorpal is the safe 10% extra damage, no fuss, no fight trait. You know, nothing to think about here. It's just 10% more damage on that, presumably a boss, just because. Um, the reason why this is okay, in my opinion, is if you pair it with attrition orbs. If you think about it, it's really more like a what 10% plus 25%, almost a 40%, like 22. So almost a 40% damage increase right here, 30 something percent damage increase. That's consistent. Whereas you could also go with surrounded, which would then make this closer to almost double damage, but you are dependent on well, double's a bit extreme, right? It's more like 70%, but regardless, that's a big damage increase. Yeah, this is a pretty big damage increase for just attacking things. Although it's around it, you do have to have more enemies shooting at you, which it could be problematic. It really depends. You gotta have more enemies surrounding you, hence the namesake. Now, the other way you can go with this is if you were to use Cold Steel as a utility piece here. Um, you could just throw your. Well, actually, no, they nerfed that out, so don't let me lie to you. But you could just deal damage to the enemy, but slow them and shatter them, getting free slow and shatter damage. Honestly, I think this combination, like the Cold Steel and uh, either Relentless probably yeah, either Relentless Strikes or maybe even Duelist Trance. I think this makes more sense if you're using this on champions, like you just kind of want the burst damage. Um, I know it doesn't like immediately make sense, but Cold Steel is a burst damage increase. Shatter does a ton of damage. Shatter just got buffed, and all you have to do is swing your sword at the thing, and it will get slowed and then frozen, and then hit it again and shatter. Um, the reason why I would consider Duelist Trance is because getting a kill would make it where you could fling, you could main the sword for a short period of time. Um, but the utility of Cold Steel is that it allows you to basically um, deal with every champion because one hit's gonna slow. That's gonna deal with overloads. Um, it's either two or three. It takes three if you're just light attacking to freeze. That's gonna deal with unstops. If you wanted to do that faster, you would just throw your heavy, which will do 60 slow, and then you just strike hit them once with your sword, the light attack, and that'll be enough to freeze, which will stun the unstoppable. And then the anti-barrier, you have two options. You can be running solar or prismatic, or like this season we have the artifact mod to give yourself radiant, and that means that you can deal damage to the enemy, and as long as you have radiant, you're going to be anti-barrier anyway, so you don't really have to worry about the barrier. Plus, slowing and freezing the target before they bring up their barrier means that they don't get to use their barrier, which means that you're dealing with a champion anyway. So, um, Cold Steel is a great utility piece, and I think that's the reason why you get this uh, sword. To be honest, you want the Cold Steel. Uh, the rest of it is just figuring out what you actually want to do with the sword, which to me is either attrition orbs or relentless strikes um, with cold steel. Because if you're using attrition orbs, you're staying on top of the enemy, that's giving you more damage. If you're using the appropriate surges, or you go relentless strikes to keep more ammo, so you can keep using cold steel over and over. Um, and then you know you could also go duelist trance or unrelenting. Both of these are equally viable, but for different reasons. Also for utility, duelist trance lets you main the gun because it gives you a bunch of extra stats for just killing the thing, which you're gonna do anyway. And unrelenting gives you more health for killing the things, which is good in a slightly more dangerous scenario where you are also maining the gun. While Cold Steel will help support you from dying by adding ad clear with the shatter and slowing down dangerous targets. So yeah, probably unrelenting Cold Steel would be what you would get this gun for or sword for. Um, yeah. On that note, I do believe that this is a must grab, but it is a must grab for extreme utility. Another deep cut. I know I am a hoarder. I'm gonna keep mentioning how I feel like this gun is good for this specific situation, which is why you should have it. Yes, that is exactly how I feel about it. And there are other swords, especially recently. They've been trying to put a couple more cold steel swords out. I think this is probably the best one. Yes, even better than the Slammer because this can help you apply slow at range with it being a caster frame. Um, And with the Slammer being Vortex, I think its utility is more served um, with the fact that uh, it has an eager edge, so you can fly around and whatnot. And this has more like actual dealing damage or stunning enemies utility. So yeah, that's it. Later.